The metal door slammed shut behind Kioma with a sound that made her bones shake. She stood in the center of the vast marble living room, her thin dress barely covering the bruises on her arms, her bare feet cold against the polished floor. The man circling her wore all black. His face was carved from stone. His eyes were empty. This was the man her family had sold her to. "Look at me," he said. His voice was quiet but sharp, like a knife sliding across glass. Kioma kept her eyes on the floor. Her hands trembled. "I said look at me." She raised head slowly, and when their eyes met, she saw something that terrified her more than his reputation, more than the rumors, more than the armed guards outside. She saw control, total, absolute control. This man owned everything, including her. Your uncle received his money this morning," he said. 3 million naira. That's what you're worth to them." Kioma's throat burned with tears. She refused to cry. "Do you know who I am?" She nodded. "Then say my name." Her voice came out broken. "Dante." He smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Good. Now let me tell you how this works. You belong to me. You live where I say. You speak when I allow. You breathe because I permit it. Do you understand?" Kioma wanted to scream. She wanted to run, but she had nowhere to go, no one to call, no family to save her, because they were the ones who sold her. So she whispered the only word she had left. Yes. But what Kioma didn't know, what her family didn't know, was that Dante wasn't just a gangster. He was the most powerful man in the city. And once he decided you were his, there was no escape, only survival. This is the story of a girl betrayed by blood, trapped by cruelty, and forced to survive in the hands of a man the entire city feared. Stay with me, because what happens next will break your heart, then rebuild it in ways you never expected. But don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and comment below where you are watching from and the time you are seeing this video. Kioma sat on the floor of their one-room apartment in Amechi, Port Harcourt, stirring a pot of watery yam porridge. The kerosene stove hissed weakly. The walls were stained with old water damage. The ceiling leaked every time it rained. This was home. Her uncle, Emeka, sat on the only chair in the room, scrolling through his phone with a cigarette hanging from his lips. His wife, Auntie Ngozi, leaned against the window, arms folded, staring at Kioma like she was a burden that had overstayed its welcome. "Kioma, how old are you now?" Emeka asked, without looking up. 22, uncle." 22, he repeated slowly. "And still here, eating our food, using our water, sleeping under our roof." Chioma's hand froze over the pot. Auntie Ngozi clicked her tongue. "We've done our best, but we can't carry you forever. Your parents are dead. Your brother's scattered. What are we supposed to do?" Kioma kept her voice steady. "I've been applying for jobs, Auntie. I went to 3 interviews last week." "And," Emeka snapped, "they said they'll call me back." He laughed bitterly. "They'll call you back. That's what they always say. Meanwhile, you're here collecting space." Kioma wanted to defend herself, but she knew better. In this house, silence was survival. And Auntie Ngozi moved closer. "Emeka, we need to talk about the other thing." Kioma looked up. "What other thing?" Emeka finally looked at her. His eyes were cold. "There's a man who's interested in you." Chioma's stomach dropped. "What kind of man?" "A rich one," Auntie Ngozi said quickly. "A man who can take care of you, give you a better life." "I don't want to marry anyone," Kioma said firmly. Emeka stood up. "You think you have a choice?" The room went silent. He walked over and crouched in front of her. "This man is willing to pay. A lot. And that money will help this family. You understand? Kiyoma's voice shook. You want to sell me? I'm giving you an opportunity, Emeka said, to be useful for once. Tears filled her eyes. Uncle, please, I'll find work. I'll pay you back. Just don't do this. Auntie Ngozi scoffed. You'll pay us back with what? Your tears? This is happening, Kiyoma, whether you like it or not. That night, Kiyoma lay on her thin mat, staring at the ceiling. She thought about her mother who died giving birth to her youngest brother. She thought about her father, who worked himself to death trying to feed 5 children. She thought about how her brothers disappeared into the streets after he died, leaving her with relatives who saw her as a burden, not family. And now they were selling her, like livestock, like trash. She didn't sleep that night. She just prayed for a miracle. But no miracle came. 2 days later, a black SUV pulled up outside their apartment. The engine purred like a beast. The windows were tinted. People on the street stopped and stared. Emeka straightened his shirt and opened the door. He's here. Kiyoma's heart pounded. She was wearing a faded dress Auntie Ngozi had given her that morning. Her hair was packed into a low bun. She looked small, powerless. A man stepped out of the SUV. He was tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in a crisp black shirt and dark jeans. His shoes gleamed. His wristwatch caught the sunlight. But it was his face that made Kiyoma freeze. Cold, sharp, dangerous. He didn't smile. He didn't greet. He just looked at her. Is this the girl? He asked. Emeka nodded quickly. Yes, sir. This is Kiyoma. The man circled her slowly like a buyer inspecting goods. Kiyoma felt her skin crawl. How old? 22, sir. Healthy? Very healthy. Any trouble? Emeka hesitated. She's quiet, respectful, no trouble at all. The man stopped in front of Kiyoma. Look at me. She lifted her eyes. His gaze was like ice. What's your name? Kiyoma, she whispered. Speak up. Kiyoma. He studied her for a long moment. Then he turned to Emeka. 3 million, cash, today. Emeka's eyes widened. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. The man pulled out his phone and made a call. Bring the bag. Minutes later, another man stepped out of the SUV carrying a black duffel bag. He handed it to Emeka, who unzipped it with shaking hands. Stacks of Naira notes, crisp, new. More money than Kiyoma had ever seen. Emeka's face lit up. God bless you, sir. The man ignored him and looked at Kiyoma. Get in the car. Kiyoma's legs wouldn't move. Now! Auntie Ngozi pushed her forward. Go, and don't embarrass us. Kiyoma stumbled toward the SUV. The door opened. She climbed in. The leather seats were cold. The air smelled expensive. The man got in beside her. The door slammed shut. And just like that, Kiyoma's life as she knew it was over. They drove for what felt like hours. Kiyoma stared out the window, watching the slums fade into highways, then into gated estates with tall walls and security cameras. Finally, they pulled up to a mansion. It was massive, white pillars, manicured lawns, fountains, armed guards at every gate. Kiyoma's breath caught. Who was this man? The car stopped. The man got out. Follow me. She stepped out, legs shaking. The guards didn't look at her. They just stood like statues, guns visible. Inside, the house was even more intimidating. Marble floors, chandeliers, paintings on the walls. Everything screamed power and money. The man led her to a large living room and gestured to a chair. Sit. She sat. He stood in front of her, the hands in his pockets. My name is Dante Okafor. Do you know who I am? Kiyoma shook her head. He smiled slightly. Good. That means you're not a liar. Most people pretend not to know me, but they do. He walked to the window. I own half this city, real estate, shipping, oil, security. If money moves in Port Harcourt, I control it. Kioma's stomach twisted. He turned back to her. Your uncle sold you to me because he owed me money, a debt he couldn't pay, so he offered you instead. Tears filled her eyes. I don't need another maid, Dante continued. I don't need company. What I need is someone who understands their place. Someone who won't ask questions, someone who knows how to disappear when I say disappear. He crouched in front of her. Can you do that? Kioma's voice broke. Why me? Because you have no one, he said simply. No one to come looking. No one to ask questions. You're invisible, and that makes you useful. He stood. You'll stay here. You'll eat, sleep, and live in silence. If you try to run, I'll find you. If you disobey, you'll regret it. If you speak to anyone about me, you'll disappear. Do you understand? Kioma nodded, tears streaming down her face. Dante called out, Nkem. A woman appeared, older, stern-faced, dressed in uniform. Show her to her room. Make sure she understands the rules. Nkem nodded. Yes, sir. Dante walked away without another word. Kioma followed Nkem down a long hallway. Her heart was heavy. Her mind was screaming. She had just been sold to the most dangerous man in the city. And there was no way out. Kioma's room was small but clean. A single bed, a wardrobe, a window, with bars. Nkem stood at the door. You eat at 6. You don't leave this room unless called. You don't touch anything that isn't yours. You don't speak unless spoken to. Who is he? Kioma whispered. Nkem's face hardened. Someone you don't question? She left and locked the door from the outside. Kioma sat on the bed and finally let herself cry. Deep, silent sobs that shook her entire body. She thought about running, but where? She had no money, no phone, no friends. She was trapped. And the worst part, no one would come looking for her. Because her own family had sold her.